Welcome back. This is chapter 4, part 2. I'm going to be picking up here in 4.12 of your text in chapter 4. It's announcing the project to contractors. The thing that happens now we've talked about the design team. We've got a set of drawings. The owner now has to select a general contractor who's going to build for him or build for her. A lot more women involved in this than there once was, that is for sure. So what happens next? Well, you have to advertise it. You advertise, put out a bid. There's an advertisement for a bid on page 91 of your textbook for figure 4.2. Tells you a lot of information about the bid. It tells you what they're looking for. I'm just going down through it with you. If you take a look at it, it's a valuable piece of information. But it tells you what's going to be built. In this case, it's an airport. Who's going to be doing it? It's a city. Where do you send your bid? It gives you the city manager's office. And it tells you got until 2 p.m. Eastern time. It gives you May 22nd, 20-something. And then they will be opened and publicly read aloud. Bids received after bid closing time will be returned to unopened. It tells you how this process is going to work. It tells you where you can find things. Now, this is the next part that you really need to have. It talks about drawings, specifications, bid documents, contract documents will all be available. It gives a date. You can look at them at the city manager's office. It goes on to tell you that if you want a copy of them, it's going to cost you $250, refundable, meaning you turn it back in. That doesn't happen anymore today. Now all these documents are PDFs. Very rarely do you see a set of bid documents, drawings, books, anything that is not a PDF anymore. And usually the owner doesn't even supply paper prints at all. I mean, if you need a paper print, once you're awarded the job, you generally are going to get a PDF and you're going to have to go get the prints yourself. So then it goes on to tell what's being offered. It says a single prime contract will be awarded for the construction of this 4-story building, approximately 45,000 square feet. So one person is going to get the job. And it goes on and specifies the type of work that's to be done, but that's not necessarily all inclusive. It's not everything that's going to be done. That's the bulk of it. You need to look at the bid documents to those drawings that are up there, and specifications and bid documents. You need to read those to understand exactly what it is you're supposed to build. And then it tells you again at the bottom that the bids are to be submitted. Tells you what kind of format they should be in, and continues on. It says like no bidder may withdraw his proposal. So once you stick something in there and you realize maybe you're too high or missed something, you can't put a new bid back in. So, or if you're woefully undervalued, you can't change your bid. So it tells you all these different things about the bid process, and then the general contractor has to go ahead and decide using, remember that the organizational chart where they got to get an estimator to figure out the resources that are required and necessary to build something. So that's the part of the general contractor that is very first in line. And then you go ahead and you go ahead and put the bid together and you turn it in at the right amount of time before the deadline. So one of the things that point out here, they call it in 4.13 as the project manual. That's most people call that the spec book. The architect writes specifications. If you're building a apartment building, 100 unit apartment building, the architect is going to write the specifications for almost everything imaginable for that building, from fire safety, sheetrock, fire retardant sheetrock, windows, thickness of windows, type of windows, whether they protect UV light, every aspect of it, what type of carpet goes in, literally what kind of door locks are on every door, inside the apartment, like a bathroom and a bedroom versus the type of steel door on the outside of the apartment and the type of locks in it. Everything about that building is in that project manual. Then the bid documents also include the advertisement again, but it's all these contract documents that are mentioned in figure 4.4 on page 93. General conditions, every contract is going to have general conditions. Again, the book here shortly is going to talk about an AIA contract. There's one in the back of the book for sure. But your contract documents, all these things are going to be talking about drawings and specifications. Do you have any addendums you want to write? Are you going to propose alternative forms of construction? Let's say somebody wants a particular type of window from a particular manufacturer, but you're going to use a different manufacturer for the same kind of window. You put those in as alternatives or modifications. Everything gets spelled out in writing. These documents, these bid documents are very big, but this whole process is important to lay out every aspect of it. The book goes into some nice detail with regards to what each one of these things are and the different types of specifications. I'm not going to just read through them and go over them verbatim. But one thing I do want to point out is that architects are getting away, not just from paper prints, because I told you everything gets sent to you as a PDF. The bigger buildings now, and I have not seen this happen yet. I know people that do it. Some of my students last year in this course actually worked with these files. But if you look on 4.16.2, page 95 in the last chapter, it says the drawings may be produced on paper or on Mylar and are reproduced as blue line or black line prints on paper. Well, nowadays they can be produced on paper, and you usually don't, the copies are no longer blue line. They're black line because the blue line was found to be environmentally unsafe. So they're black line papers. You can make as many copies as you want, but everything's usually printed on paper anymore. But look at it says alternatively, the drawings may be produced and conveyed electronically in the form of computer-aided design and drafting, or, and this is the big one now, the building information model, the BIM. Your engineer, surveyor, every component, every electrician, HVAC, all these people would combine with the architect, and they put layers in a file. Just think of, this building has floors, and you have to build it from top to bottom to top, and every layer goes in. Well, the architect's drawing starts off up here, and every sub-consultant, engineer, professional discipline, they all stick stuff in it. And you end up with this building information model. I don't have time to or expect you to go through this and learn what that is, but it is a computer file that shows you everything about the building, right down to warranty information on a furnace, estimated maintenance schedules, say for lights and ballasts out in the hallways, right down to how often you need to say clean your HVAC, the ductwork, every aspect. It's got all your how to service, say, the HVAC system, anything imaginable is in that BIM, right from the type of materials, and it's also 3D. So you can walk around, you can scroll on your little mouse and move around like as if you were walking through the building and seeing every feature of the building. And you can click on a feature and it would tell you what type of doorknob was on the outside of a door. You go into an apartment, it would tell you what type of refrigerator. and not only what type of refrigerator, how often you should replace the water filter and the air filter, and what the warranty is on that refrigerator. So these BIM models are really, really good. And that is where everybody is going now on really large projects. They're all using BIM. The book talks about different materials and a closed specification versus open specification. Open means you have the opportunity to change materials and provide new specifications that the architect might want or might accept. I mean, those are also somewhat in regard to alternates. You can, sometimes there might be an alternate design, something that could be changed, and maybe maybe the contractor sees it, and a sub-consultant, as they go to looking at it, they say, well, there's a better way, there's a cheaper way to do this to get the same value, and it ends up being called an alternate. Let's see, eventually under 4.16.7, page 101, eventually you end up with an agreement. An agreement is a contract. I should go over this in a different video. The other video I was telling you about breach of contract. But when you put something in writing for, a bid, it's an offer. You made an offer. And when the owner accepts the offer, you now have an agreement or a contract. And so that agreement is between the owner and the general contractor. And it says down here that it's usually the AIA documents, the A101 through 2007. I think there's more recent, I think 2017, 2018, there was a big update. A lot of these forms changed, but architects still use these forms. They're written by architects, they protect architects. Everybody else has to have a lawyer to go through these contract documents and sort of rework them to not be so favored for the architect. But when it's said and done, you end up with this complex agreement for something that's really large. I mean, the apartment building that I'm involved in is probably going to be $3 million worth of construction. That's a lot of money for St. Mary's County. And it's a lot to manage and a lot to handle, and a lot of things can go wrong. But that's why you have layers of professionals, including a lawyer, and then sometimes the consultants have lawyers, and you end up with the lawyer for the architect and the lawyer for the owner hashing out the agreement, and between those two parties. And then you turn around and do the same thing with the lawyers for the general contractor and the lawyer for the owner, again, hashing out their contract. So there's a lot to be handled, and the book doesn't talk too much, but there's a lot to be emphasized in that agreement under 416.7. So wrapping this up, I mean, the contract and the contractor, they're also, a lot of times it says the book here is that they're used in singular form to describe the basis on which construction projects are performed. But really there's contracts. There's plural contracts. If you remember that diagram in 4.1, everybody has a contract with somebody underneath. And there's multiple contractors, subcontractors. There's multiple design professionals. It is a series of contracts and a series of specifications all over the place. And so there's a lot to be managed and a lot to be handled. And when things go wrong, what do we all do? They all look for the contract. What did it say I was supposed to do? And who's responsible for not doing something? So if you have any questions this week, chapters 3 and 4, you're going to have a quiz. Your assignment is really on organizational structures from last week. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me with email, text. If you need me to call you or set something up as a Zoom meeting, I'm always there to do that. I just need a little heads up, little notice. I can be quite busy at times. So, but I will definitely help you and answer your questions if you have any. Thank you and have a wonderful week.